What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, TheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Maria. Maria, Maria. Yeah, that was that's what I'm feeling. I'm looking a little like a little Unabomber-esque with a gray hoodie up today. I've got the actual hood up. I'm a little chilly, and I reviewing Netflix sent this FYC box to me, and I got it. I got to be honest. First of all, thank you, Netflix, for sending me something like this. But also, the DVD actually had audio description, which, in a sea of screeners that I've received from a wide array of studios, was beautiful. So like chef's kiss on that. Like I loved it. And I have a feeling that it's probably the actual audio description track. It's not like a placeholder that they're going to use for the movie when it drops. So I actually get to talk about the audio description track, which is lovely. Lovely. Um it's not one of these Oscar reviews that I'm doing where it's like, I don't know, didn't have a track, I don't know, I'm gonna try to guess a grade here. Been doing a lot of that. But so it's directed by Pablo Larraín, who you may or may not be familiar with his previous work, Spencer and Jackie, both of which earned their leading actresses nominations. And so the general working consensus is that Angelina Jolie is headed for a nomination for Maria, and has been. Pretty much everybody's been predicting her since the beginning because she's Angelina Jolie. Shockingly, she only has 2 nominations, though. She has her win for Girl Interrupted, and then she wasn't nominated again until Changeling for 2009 for Best Actress. So not a heavily nominated actress, despite the fact that she feels like she has all of the clout that you would expect. But she's a little bit like Ray Fiennes this year for Conclave, somebody who you sort of assume has a bajillion nominations, but really actually doesn't. One of the reasons why I'm like, Saoirse Ronan does not need 2 nominations this year. She's already far more nominated than a lot of other people that you'd be like, what? They have how few nominations? Samuel L. Jackson only has 1 nomination? Yes. I mean, he has an honorary Oscar, but mainly because the Oscars are like, we messed up. So my FYC box for this was hilarious. I want to show it to you, but I don't know if that's legal. So uh I appreciate swag. I'm just gonna say that. I appreciate the swag. I can't use any of it, but I appreciate it. It's all visual. Like I got a viewfinder and it brought me back to my childhood, and I was like, I had one of these as a kid. I can't use this now, but like just holding a viewfinder sent me back to my childhood and like the memories of having one of those things back in the day. Like kids these days would just hand them a viewfinder and they'd be like, what is this? I have a phone. I can just I can just Google whatever image I want. But we had these viewfinders with this little disc that you put in and then it clicks through. And I know that came before my generation, but I'm old enough that this is dating me. This is why I don't have any Gen Alpha people who watch me. Um, yeah, so I used to have those. Anyway, so I got that and the script, and and the DVD, that was my swag box for Netflix. Um, but yeah, so I put it in, and Angelina Jolie was great. I thought she was great in this movie. It's a bit like, I'm not really a fan of any of Pablo Larraín's movies, but with Jackie and with Maria, I think they both have commanding leading performances. I did not like what Kristen Stewart was doing with Diana in Spencer. I hated that movie. I thought she just whispered her way through the movie. I was like, what was your interpretation of Princess Diana, and why did nobody stop her? She's just whispering all the time. Hello. And it was mind-boggling what anybody saw in Spencer. I was like, have you seen a videotape of Princess Diana at any point in your lifetime? Like, she can phonate. Like, her, her vocal cords can phonate. It makes, hello, on, Princess Diana. I'm Kristen Stewart doing Princess Diana. Obnoxious. But she, I'm not a Kristen Stewart hater. She gave previous work that could have been easily nominated in movies like Clouds of Sils Maria. So, yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, and by the way, she's really great this year in Love Lies Bleeding. So, no, I'm not one of those people who just every time, although the montage video of her on YouTube doing always makes me laugh. But Angelina Jolie plays Maria Callas, who is a classical singer, renowned classical singer, and much like I would say the other movies that Pablo has made, he takes a look at not what you would expect. And that's the one thing that I'll say about Spencer, is that it's maybe not the story you would expect him to take for Diana. I think The Crown went with the more obvious, like, let's hit the major benchmarks. It sort of took a more quiet, this is a moment in time. You know, it's not so worried about like, oh, do you remember that one great moment that she had where she went and did that thing? Oh, we have to recreate that moment. It was beautiful. And Jackie kind of does the same thing, where it feels very much like we've just dropped into this person's life and we're seeing sort of like all the behind the scenes conversations, the sort of the real moments. It sort of reminds you that these famous people all had like actual lives and were real people and had conversations with people, not just the publicists or whatever, but actually had lives. And Maria feels like that here too. And Angelina Jolie does a good job of showing you Maria Callas, the presentation, and Maria Callas sort of chipping away, the chipping away of that and becoming the relatable human, but still a very proud person, a very engaged, a very aware, self-assured performer. And it's not really the strongest narrative. It's hard to talk about some of these films because it's not necessarily like one of those films that has an obvious biopic trend to it, where you're like, there's no shot of her. There's not that little like 10-year-old girl that's playing Maria Callas and she's like, I want to be a singer when I grow up, and then it like moves through that like the biopic trend that Walk Hard and Weird have both just sort of made fun of in grand form. But no, it just kind of drops you in, and then you're like, oh, this is Maria. Oh, this is Maria Callas. Okay, so if you didn't know that much about her going in, you're not going to walk away feeling like you're like, I know of her. I should know more of her, considering what I do off of YouTube, but I should know more of her than I do. But I didn't walk away from Maria thinking that I now had an encyclopedia of knowledge. Like I could jump into a conversation on Maria Callas and be like, oh yeah, I remember that because in the movie they showed that, you know? And some movies feel like they're the greatest hits. And Pablo seems to have like an aversion to those types of biopics. So he has these other kinds of biopics, which are just almost sort of like meandering meditations on life, which, to his credit, he does focus pretty solely on the person he's supposed to, which is why you like never hear of any supporting bid coming out of any of these films. Like nobody's ever like, I don't even know, like tell me who's in, without Googling, tell me who's in the supporting cast of any of these movies. Go. Can you do it? I don't think you can. And that's my point, is that he has really done sort of an exceptional job here. In many ways, it's very, the correlation is very strong between like what Pablo does and what Sofia Coppola did for Priscilla, in the fact that she took the camera and just was like, well, this is Priscilla's story. We've had enough Elvis movies. You know? and just like stuck on Priscilla. And yes, I mean, people focus on the Elvis performance because he's in a lot of the movie, and it's really hard to do a Priscilla movie without ever mentioning or ever having on frame Elvis Presley. But yeah, so he does drift in and out, and so there's possibility of talking about that performance, but it kind of dwindles. It's really people were just kind of talking about Kaylee Spaney. So this is sort of like a new thing where um, we are taking almost this quiet approach to a biopic, like a really sort of toned down, slimmed down. You don't need to know the beginning, middle, and end. We're just going to look at a moment in this person's life. It may be the most important moment. It may not be. It may be one of the most important moments. There's just a lot of stuff that Maria deals with here that has a lot of ramifications on her life. A lot of references to her health. She sits down and she has some conversations. I love when she sits down with this guy who puts on a recording of her, and she's like, no, stop, I can't listen to myself. I never listen to myself. It's such a great scene for Angelina. I thought she was really good in that. And just the reaction that she has and the explanation behind it. And it sort of it's this nice look into Maria Callas through the lens of Pablo Larraín. It's not necessarily the most interesting movie ever, but then again, I don't think Jackie and Spencer are either. I think even the people who like them they're powered by the performances. He puts a lot of trust in Angelina Jolie, and Angelina Jolie just puts a lot of trust that Pablo Larraín is going to feature her in all of her glory, and he does that. I mean, the camera loves Angelina, and this is a great focus for her. This is totally a Best Actress bid. I don't even know, other than the fact that she's wearing costumes, which audio description, thank you. I got a little bit of the glitz and the glamour along with that, which was nice in the audio description. And through that, I was able, I could see it maybe getting costumes. If this like really overperforms, I would think costume design would be the next thing that would come along with it. But for the most part, I don't know where else it goes. I can't imagine people find Pablo Larraín's direction to be that interesting for him to get into the director. It's not going to get in picture. It's just not the kind of movie, the kind of grandiose movie that they typically nominate. And considering we have other music biopics this year, it doesn't even stand out. And this one does fall into music because Maria is a singer, so she does have to contend with films like Complete Unknown, Better Man, Bob Marley, One Love. I mean, there are plenty of other movies out there that are all about singers and are not just biopics about real people, but they're actually biopics about singers. So, but I thought it was lovely hearing Maria. I'm assuming Angelina Jolie did not actually get classically trained for this, and they're using Maria's voice. It would be impressive, but I just the amount of work that she would need to do to get up to that and to do the recordings and everything. It's hard when you have somebody who has classical training like that. It's really hard to like fake that. It's one of the reasons why Rebecca Ferguson is dubbed in Greatest Showman, is because she couldn't even do. And that's not classical singing, by the way, but she couldn't even sing Never Enough, So it's not always expected for actors to be able to get that level of training. It's actually not one of my favorite performances of the year. It's a good performance of Angelina Jolie. It's just this year for actress has a ton of really rich performances, in addition to the fact that it also has some people who are performing at or near their highest that they've ever performed. While I think it's like a shot in the dark that Pamela Anderson would ever get nominated for an Oscar, there's no doubt that is the best work she's ever done. It's just trying to fit that into comparison. Same thing with like June Squibb for Thelma. I mean, that's a great movie and a great career narrative at the end of the year. And those are two performances that are just, even those performances aren't really registering, because you have to talk about all of the other performances in the race. Do I think Angelina Jolie is going to get the nomination? Yes. Would I necessarily vote to nominate her? No. But I think it's a good film, and I'm not mad at people who do. And then I also would not be opposed to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where I could sit there and I could be like in the fifth place spot, because she does feel under nominated to me, and this does feel like it is near her best work. It doesn't feel like to me that she has topped herself. It doesn't feel like that she's returned in some incredibly high form that has surpassed everything she's ever done before. But it does feel like it's near the high end of her stuff. I just, in terms of matching her work to films that are more interesting, she does have performances that are great and are more interesting. So it's one of those things where it's like, we probably should have nominated Angelina Jolie more since Girl Interrupted, and we just haven't. You know, she probably has some other films. If we're really going to go back and dig through her career, we could pull out a different performance that missed out on the nomination, that maybe shouldn't have, that just felt a little bit more great film, great role. You know, this one is okay film, great role. You know, so I could go either way on this. You know, I think the film is a little bit cold, and I don't know how voters are going to respond to it in terms of ultimately voting for her for the win. I think a lot of people will give her the grace and vote for her to be nominated, but I don't see her checking off a lot of number one boxes. So I would be surprised if she won the Oscar this year. The narrative would really have to work in her favor, where people feel like she's also won before, so it's getting her her second Oscar. It's not just getting her like nominated, like it's been a long time since you've been nominated, but it's actually getting her that second Oscar. And I don't know if this film can do it for her. But I did love the audio description. It's a very focused movie on Angelina, and it has to focus on her choices, on her acting choices. It focuses on the costumes and at times the set, although this is not a very loud movie. This is not a big, bold, flashy set piece movie either. Lots of quiet conversations that sometimes have a tendency to repeat themselves, mainly because she talks a lot about her health. So, or other people talk to her about her health, I should say, because she doesn't really want to talk about it. I love that. When she's having the conversation, there's a scene where she's having a conversation about her health, and the way that her, I don't know, husband, assistant, friend presented it to her was in a way who she was like criticizing the exact use of. She was like, no, what did he say? Because the choice of word will depend on whether or not I sleep tonight. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, she has to call us, she should call us, she can call us, like that kind of thing. Like, what did the doctor say? Like, tell her to call us, she should call us, she can call us, that kind of thing. She was kind of saying, like, if you remember more of the, like, you can, if you want to, would help her sleep that night. So she's kind of getting to prod him to tone it down so she doesn't spend all night worrying. But yeah, there's stuff here. I'm not gonna completely knock Pablo Larraín. I do think it's better than Spencer. I think this is on par with Jackie. I think some people have ranked this the lowest of the three. I'm like, you guys must have really liked Spencer, because I really just dislike Spencer a lot. But this film sort of rebounded for me, and it made me see a little bit of what Pablo does, which is exactly, he just takes an actress and just focuses on. I just really hated Kristen Stewart's performance in Spencer. I'm sorry. So, but I like this. So, I'm gonna give. This may feel a little bit low, but I do like performances, so I'm engaged it'll either seem low or high based on how you just read my review of this. But I am somebody who really is fascinated by acting performances, and I can turn on a movie that has a great acting performance where the movie isn't as great and still watch it because I'm captivated by actors. And I think that's the case here. This is one of those films where I really enjoyed it for the performance more than I did for the movie. So that being said, boosting it up a little bit, and it's not a bad movie. And so I'm gonna give Maria a B minus. That'll either seem low or high to you, depending on where you thought it was headed in this. It's just not one of my favorite movies of the year, and I wouldn't. I'm on the fence for Angelina Jolie in like fifth place spot. You know, like for in like a top five type of thing, because we have seen some tremendous performances this year. A lot of them. That's the problem. Ask anybody doing the Best Actress race. I think putting too many locks in the Best Actress race is a little bit overreaching. But I do expect Angelina Jolie to show up pretty much everywhere. But I don't think she'll win anywhere. So, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.